All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for your patience and happiest of Fridays to you. Once I'm finished with you and you're finished with me, we'll hear from our good friend Reem on behalf of the President of the General Assembly. So do please stay connected after my briefing. Today, the UN Office of Drugs and Crime released its World Wildlife Crime Report, which says that wildlife trafficking is not just a threat to biodiversity, but also to human health. Many animals that are butchered and sold illegally have potential for spreading diseases to people. The report shows that nearly 6,000 species have been seized over the past decade, including not only mammals, but reptiles, corals, birds, and fish. No single country was identified as the source of more than 9% of the total number of seized shipments. Meanwhile, the report identifies traffickers from 150 nationalities, showing that this is indeed a global issue. The report also notes that pangolins, which were identified as a potential source of the coronaviruses, continue to be the most trafficked wild mammal in the world. Demand for tiger products has also risen in recent years, as well as for tropical hardwood timber. The report also says that the sale of illegal wildlife products has shifted to online platforms and encrypted messaging apps as traffickers have found new ways to connect with potential buyers. You can read the full report online and on the UNODC's website. And today, the high-level political forum is continuing, as we've been telling you. In fact, it concluded its thematic review for the week. The two morning sessions addressed the, quote, means of implementation to match the scope of the crisis and the breadth of our ambition for 2030, end quote. Today was also the launch of the forthcoming week's presentation of voluntary national reviews, which this year includes presentation by 47 countries. These reviews are voluntary and state-led. The afternoon session today will feature presentations from Armenia, Ecuador, Honduras, Kenya, Nigeria, Samoa, and Slovenia. And I also want to flag that on Monday, 9 a.m., there'll be a virtual side event of the Secretary General's Independent Accountability Panel for Every Woman, Every Child, Every Adolescent, where a report on the impact of COVID-19 on these groups will be launched. Turning to Yemen, I can tell you that we remain extremely concerned about the Safar oil tanker that is anchored off the coast of Yemen, and which, as you know, is carrying 1.1 million barrels of oil and is in poor condition. On July 15th, the Security Council is scheduled to hold a meeting on this issue. And at the end of May, as we told you, water reportedly entered the engine room of the tanker, which could have led to a disaster. A temporary fix has been applied, but it is unclear how long this might last. We are encouraged that the local authorities recently signaled they would approve a UN mission to the site. We're following up with them, and now to confirm the details, we hope logistical arrangements will be quickly completed so this work can begin. We, of course, stand ready to assist. The assessment mission will conduct feasible light repairs and help to determine the appropriate next steps. We also want to acknowledge the helpful role of member states in working to resolve this critical issue. We appreciate member states' continued engagement and we now hope we are moving towards a solution. And our humanitarian colleagues also tell us that the first COVID-19 case in northwest Syria was confirmed yesterday. The patient had reportedly been isolating at the Bab al-Hawa hospital in northern Idlib governorate since exhibiting symptoms on July 5th. Contact tracing was activated following positive results. While cases across Syria remain relatively low, the overall risk remains high, especially in areas such as the northwest, where there are large displaced population. And an update from what our colleagues are doing in the field in country offices. And in Azerbaijan, I can tell you where we've seen nearly 22,000 cases of COVID-19 with more than 13,000 recovery and 250 deaths. The UN team, led by the resident coordinator, Ghulam Isadzai, is working with the government's task force on COVID-19, providing health and communications advice. The World Health Organization started a program to temporarily bring Azerbaijani doctors living in Turkey back to Azerbaijan to boost capacity in local hospitals. WHO, the UN Development Program, the UN Children's Fund, and the UN Population Fund have distributed more than 100,000 items, including personal protective equipment, test kits, ventilators, thermometers, and disinfectant. The UN team has also been working closely with the government on boosting risk communication capacities to ensure that the media is circulating verified information. And a related update from our peacekeepers in Mali, Sudan, and Kosovo. The UN mission in Mali is working with prison populations in Gao, Mopti, and Timbuktu areas to raise awareness and help protect the prisoners against the virus. The mission has equipped detainees and prison staff with hand washing kits, gloves, face masks. In total, over around 530 prisoners will benefit, as well as the staff of their respective penal establishments. This contribution was made through the Nelson Mandela Project, developed and implemented under the joint responsibility of the Department of Peace Operations and the UN Development Program. And in Darfur, the UN-AU joint mission has distributed hygiene materials to internally displaced women and girls in Sortoni. This includes 1,000 kits with sanitary items and jerry cans to be used as hand washing stations. Working in partnership with the Sudan Social Development Organization, UNAMID continues to conduct awareness-raising activities in central Darfur. The mission has also helped transport blood samples from El Fasher to government's health labs in Yala in South Darfur. And in Kosovo, the UN mission there continues to support women through economic empowerment activities. In the Mitrovica region, women helped sew thousands of face masks for vulnerable families. They also received extra supplies to enable them to engage in their own business ventures and secure their livelihoods. In total, the UN mission has delivered the 24,000 masks to 5 municipalities in northern Kosovo. And as you may recall, last month, the Secretary General issued a statement in which he expressed his concern over the growing humanitarian and safety crisis facing seafarers due to COVID-19 restrictions. He called on countries to formally designate seafarers and other marine personnel as quote-unquote key workers and to ensure crew changeovers can safely take place. And we are pleased to announce today that the International Labour Organization expressed its support for new measures to protect the rights of seafarers stranded at sea. The ILO welcomed a joint statement signed by more than a dozen countries that gives seafarers enhanced rights as key workers, allowing them to be repatriated and move more freely during the pandemic. More than 200,000 seafarers have been stranded at sea due to the virus, some of them for months because of restrictions on international travel and measures to contain the virus. And in a statement released earlier today, the UN Education Scientific Cultural Organization, otherwise known as UNESCO, said that the Hagia Sophia, which is part of the historic areas of Istanbul, is inscribed on the World Heritage List as a museum. UNESCO emphasized that this inscription entails a number of legal commitments and obligations. And for her part, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, today warned of the crippling impact of the socioeconomic crisis on Lebanon's population. She urged the government, political parties, and the financial sector to work together to ensure the protection of the poorest and most vulnerable. She called on the country's political parties and leaders to enact urgently needed reforms and to prioritize the provision of essential needs such as food, electricity, health, and education. She further called upon the international community to increase its assistance to the government to support such efforts. And tomorrow, besides being Saturday, it is also World Population Day. In a message for the day, the Secretary General said that 25 years ago at the Cairo International Conference on Population and Development, world leaders first spelled out the links between population development and human rights, including reproductive rights. They also recognized that promoting gender equality is both the right thing to do and one of the most reliable pathways to sustainable development and improved well-being for all. The Secretary General noted that this year's World Population Day calls for global attention to the unfinished business of the Cairo Conference Despite progress in lowering maternal mortality and unintended pregnancies, many challenges remain. The Secretary General highlighted that in November, a summit marking the 25th anniversary of the Cairo Conference will take place in Nairobi. He encouraged member states to participate at the highest level and to make firm political and financial commitments to realize the Cairo Conference's program of action. On Monday, my guest will be Maximo Torrero Cullen, the Assistant Director General for Economic and Social Development at the Food and Agricultural Organization. He will brief you on the launch of the State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World 2020 report. So before we welcome Reem among us, let's go to questions for which I need my glasses to see. Maria, you have a question, so I shall give you the floor. Maria?
Hi, Steph. Thank you. So I actually have two questions. First, about Azerbaijan initiative. It was announced today by Foreign Ministry of Azerbaijan that they initiated a special session of General Assembly about fighting coronavirus. And before you refer me to Reem, she was already very kind to provide me with some information about it. But I wonder in particular about Secretary General's opinion about this initiative, whether the special session technically have to be approved by him, and that whether he is going to participate in the meeting when it takes place. Okay, I will.
Sorry, let me answer that one. No, I mean, it's not for, as you know, it's not for the Secretary General to approve what the member states decide. They are free. It's a member state-driven organization. He will, of course, support it. And whether or not he participates, I would assume, I mean, I have to check the dates, but I assume if he can participate, he will participate. Did you have another question, Maria? Sorry, I cut you off.
On Syria. You mentioned that the first case in northwest Syria. I just wanted to follow up about the general overall cases in Syria, if you have this data now.
The overall number of cases? Yeah, not more than what we've said. We said, I think, 2 days ago. I can try to pull that up before the end of the briefing. So I'll come back. I will come back to you on that. Edie, you have a question, then we'll go to James.
Thank you very much, Steph. As you know, today the mandate for cross-border aid deliveries expires, and there is still no agreement in the Security Council. I wonder if you could tell us whether the UN has made any contingency plans in case there is no agreement and the mandate expires in terms of aid being available in the Northwest. And I have one question after that.
I mean, yes and no. Of course, we need to be ready if the Security Council doesn't come to a decision and we lose the authorization. But it's not as if there's a contingency plan to use other border crossings or use other borders. There are no other options for us for cross-border delivery than a Security Council resolution. And we have said time and time again that, without the necessary authorization, the only thing that will happen is that the suffering of the civilians will increase.
My second question was on the vote in the Philippines Parliament to reject the renewal of the license of the country's largest television network, which basically supports the opposition. Does the Secretary General have any comment on that?
we've seen the press reports. What I can tell you is that for us, freedom of the press is a critical, if not central, pillar of human rights everywhere and needs to be defended.
Thank you.
Mr. Bays.
Hello. I've got a couple of questions on a couple of different things. But first, a quick follow-up. Given that we have a Security Council vote in an hour or so, or the announcement of what they did vote, but already we know the Russians have another resolution up their sleeve. They publicly said that, suggesting they're going to veto again. This suggests, given the time frame of the slow voting procedure of the Security Council under the virtual rules, that you are going to go past the deadline. Just a clarification, as far as the UN sees it, when is the deadline of the close of Friday? Close of Friday, midnight, New York?
Well, this is an age-old question. Basically, once the day changes, and I don't believe we operate at night. So today would be the final day.
Okay, so on to my actual questions. First, picking up on something you read out a very truncated version of the UNESCO statement on the Hagia Sophia. Clearly, that says several things. It says that it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site as a museum, and it can't, as a result, then there's various obligations to the treaties and to UNESCO on that. It also says that they call on the Turkish authorities to engage in dialogue before taking any decision, and clearly the Turkish authorities have taken a decision without engaging in dialogue. Does the Secretary-General share UNESCO's concerns? Will the Secretary-General and his representatives be taking this up with Turkey now?
We just got off the phone with our UNESCO colleagues because I think as you pointed out, the decision was taken by the Turkish authorities. We expect a further statement from UNESCO. We, of course, fully back UNESCO. They have the primary responsibility within the UN system on dealing with the maintenance of these global heritage sites. So they are rightly in the lead, and we're supporting.
Okay. Two more questions on two different subjects, if you don't mind. There are reports, nothing confirmed yet, that the Security Council might want to meet in person next week on Colombia, possibly. It's obviously a decision of the presidency and discussion among the Security Council. But is the Secretariat ready, and does it have the provision in terms of security and other arrangements to facilitate an in-person meeting of Security Council ambassadors?
Yes, we will facilitate whatever the Security Council decides to do, whatever the presidency and the members decide to do. We will facilitate, as we do with the General Assembly. We give them advice on physical distancing and so forth. But we will support them in whatever way we can, as we are mandated to do.
And the final question, which concerns, again, press freedom in Asia, this time Malaysia. Several Al Jazeera journalists have been summoned by police in the last few hours, following an Al Jazeera documentary about the treatment of migrant workers during the country's COVID-19 lockdown. The police say they're investigating what was journalism, but instead of investigating charges of potential sedition, defamation, and violation of the country's Communications Act. What is the Secretary-General's view on journalists being investigated by police for conducting nothing other than journalism?
I don't know anything about the specific case, but I can tell you is that journalists need to be allowed to do their work in freedom, free from harassment. And I think especially at a time where we see this global pandemic, when we've seen the risks that it has towards the lessening of the civic space, harsh words towards the media in many different parts of the world, it's very important that we all stand up for the right of journalists to do their work. All right, have we finished this press briefing with you, James?
Have a lovely weekend.
You too. All right, let's move on. Arul, please go ahead.
Hi, Stéphane. This is regarding something that I mentioned to you earlier, about the talk to death and killing of a father and son in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu in police custody. Do you have any comments on that, please?
I think every death, all these cases, as a principle, need to be fully investigated. I see somebody named Asli Peltit on my screen, but I'm not sure who that is.
Hi, Stéphane. It's Asli from VOA Turkish. My question answered.
Okay, no problem.
Asked you the same question I was gonna talk to you about Hagia Sophia.
Great. Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and welcome to the briefing.
Thank you.
Carrie, please. Carrie Newton. All right, you're going to lose your...
Hi, sorry, Steph. Hi. No, sorry, I was going to, I'm making a private remark to James to congratulate his colleagues because they've done an amazing job actually in Southeast Asia. And
don't mind me. You guys have a conversation amongst yourselves.
No. But sometimes,
No, go ahead, Carrie. Go ahead.
No. That was just a private message for him.
Okay.
No questions. I'm following religiously your briefing stuff.
Okay, good. That's always good. It's a good religion to have. Gloria, please. And then Abdelhamid.
Oh, after now or not? Am I ready? My question is the tearing down of these memorials throughout the United States. Why isn't UNESCO making some comment? Not all of them are questions in our heritage of just black and white. These memorials are all of us working together as a country. Even in France, our troops, our black troops, they were under the French flag. We've worked all of our lives as a team. It's all of a sudden,
Gloria,
why are they tearing down the memorials to all of this?
Gloria, I would refer you to a very interesting discussion that was had earlier this week by the Holocaust program, the Rwanda program, the genocide program, and the transatlantic slave trade program on exactly that, the issue of memorials and statues. And I would refer you to that.
Thank you.
Abdelhamid. Abdelhamid, I can't hear you or see you.
Can you hear?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Back to Hagia Sophia. It has been a mosque between 1453 to 1930. It was a mosque, and then it turned to a museum. So now there is an outcry. I just like to compare, as you know, to see double standard. Israel on April 10 turned a mosque, a historic mosque in the city of Safar, occupied 1948. It's called Al-Ahmar Mosque, into a bar and a wedding hall. And recently it decided to take over a Muslim graveyard in Jaffa, in the city of Jaffa, to turn it into a project. And another graveyard in Jerusalem turned it into a park. I didn't see a statement coming from UNESCO or from the UN or from the Secretary General or from any other place. Why there is double standard?
I appreciate your historical analysis. I think on the issues and actions and things that have been going on in relation to Israel and Palestine, I would refer you to the many reports that we have put out on many different issues. The Hagia Sophia, I'm not going to enter in a historical debate. I was just flagging what UNESCO had said, which is basically commenting on a site that is inscribed on the World Heritage Site Registry. Okay, on that note, unless there's someone else, I will leave you to end the week in the kind hands of Reem. So Reem, please go ahead.